Hey everybody, and welcome to episode 59 of the Hunger for the Hustle podcast. I am joining you from a bright sunny morning, 10 a.m. in Melbourne. My guest is joining me from Pennsylvania, where it's 6 p.m. there.
And it's very dark.
Now, growing up, Jimmy was told by his parents that he would never be able to walk without braces or crutches, but he proved a lot of people wrong there. He was bullied at school from elementary school right the way through high school, but Jimmy stood up to those bullies and got them expelled. He went through 9 ear surgeries and 3 surgeries in one day on one occasion, with 6 wisdom teeth and 2 moles having to be removed, and one last ear surgery that made the number up to 9. But that didn't stop Jimmy in any way whatsoever. He's gone forth in life and been a man who just defines the hunger for the hustle, which is why I'm so glad to welcome Jimmy onto the show. Jimmy, how are you today, buddy?
Awesome. Thanks for having me.
It's my absolute pleasure. Now, Jimmy, they call you the crazy fitness guy, don't they? And after me doing my research into you, I was like, that's an unusual title. I had to know more. And no wonder, mate, you work out 6 to 9 times a week. You practice kickboxing sometimes 3 times a day. I know you've just got your low green belt in kickboxing. So yeah, tell us more about that, buddy.
I started karate before I came to Pennsylvania. I was in New Jersey for a while, and where I was born, and I really liked back then it was karate, and I loved it. I got to break wood. And it's funny, if some people ask me, it's like, does breaking wood hurt? And it's like, when you go really hard at the wood and right through it, you don't feel anything. But the first few tries, it hurts. I highly don't recommend trying it at home at all. Don't.
No, I wouldn't say that's a great thing to recommend to the folks at home. No. That's fascinating, because you see that in the movies, don't you? You see them chopping the wood and the tinder blocks. And I've done a little bit of MMA, but never karate. And it's good. It's actually cool to know that you actually do that stuff. That stuff actually happens.
And so basically, when I moved to Pennsylvania, I found another place to practice karate, and I've been with my sensei ever since. I had to take a few years off from karate because of some medical reasons, and I came back, and I'm still with the same sensei. He can't get rid of me.
Came back even stronger and kicking some more ass. Now, as I said, I've done a little bit of mixed martial arts, and I did martial arts when I was younger. The values it teaches you with regard to discipline, I think, is one really the main thing I got from it. Would you agree with that it teaches you a lot of discipline?
Definitely. I think I learned a lot of all my discipline from karate to keep me going, running Crazy Fitness Guy and podcasting. Well, actually, I can't say the podcasting part because I just had my podcast start this year. So we'll wait until season 2, the second year of that.
That's all good. You're on a podcast right now, so now you can say you're doing it.
Yeah. But yeah, speaking of which, this is actually my 20th podcast episode interview tonight.
Brilliant. Congratulations, brother. 20 is a great number, and it won't be long before you can add another 0 to that, I'm sure.
200.
200 for sure. Now, Jimmy, you say you're an autism advocate, and that's something I really respect. I know you have autism yourself, and you say it's a slight autism. It's not as severe as some other people have it. But of course, I'm sure that as an autism advocate, your message is, and you'll be able to put it better than me, that people with autism, of course, they can really do anything that any other people do. There's no reason that they should be labelled in any other way in society than any other people should. And yeah, I mean, tell us a bit more about that.
Well, I would say, to basically sum up what you just said, I would say it would be autism is not the end of the world. I like the slogan. I actually use that. Well, I can't say that. That's a coming up event. But yeah, it's not the end of the world. It's not. My picture of the end of the world is if we all started acting normal, and it'd be like all the stormtroopers from Star Wars, and that would be what normal is. Boring, same voice, same everything, same uniform. That's the end of the world.
Yeah, robots, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
Or the other end of the world is when Google takes over the whole world.
Yeah, which could be possible. Now, Jimmy, in your earlier life, you really did go through quite a lot there. Walking, you had braces and crutches, and you had a lot of surgeries in obviously a very short amount of time. But you never gave up. You always carried on and carried forth. And I'd love to know, like, what was your drive? What was it that just kept you going? You never quit. You went on, and now you're in college now and doing great with your foundation, the Crazy Fitness Guy.
I would say I would all to my parents to help me get the help I needed. I'm lucky I never had to have braces. I never had crutches, and I feel like I'm very lucky. All I have now is just my knees point inward when I walk, but I don't really care to fix them. I mean, yeah, when I see them, when I see myself walking sideways from like one of those windows in the shop or whatnot, I'm always like, oh, that's annoying. But then it's like, well, how many people look at my feet? And it's like, if somebody's looking at my feet, then that's just weird.
Yeah. Hey, look, it's for the people who've got that much time to think about what's going on with you and not about themselves, then hey, whose problem is that? It's certainly not yours, it's theirs. That's why I always like to look at that. And if them knees point a little inwards, mate, you've just got your green belt there, low green belt in karate, so it's certainly not stopping you achieving things and having some fun.
Definitely. Never stop there.
Yeah. Now tell us more about your foundation, the Crazy Fitness Guy. How did it come to be, and how did you get started with it?
I got started back in it was near the end of I forget what semester I was in college. One too many.
It's all good.
I was in my English class, and my professor said, if you want to continue to become a better writer, you need to practice. And so I got to thinking after what he said in class, and it's like, well, how can I keep practicing writing? And a few of my friends and my family says like, well, you could practice in a Microsoft Word document. And I'm like, gee, wonder how many times I'm going to do that? Once, twice, 3 times maybe, and then give up? No. So I did the unthinkable, at least for myself. I decided to learn how to make a website. Obviously, I didn't like hand code it or anything, but I wanted to write on the web, and so that's what I did. And I started with WordPress, and to be honest, that was the worst thing I ever did in my life. I mean, I think out of all the things I did in my life, I think that so far that was one of the worst things I ever did in my life. I worked
WordPress.
Yeah, I did 90 plus hours a week just fixing all errors on the back end of my website. And it's like, I'm going to pull my hair out. And it's like, after near the end of the first year, I was like thinking to myself, I was on my couch on the phone with my mom, and it's like, the only way I can get through another year, hopefully another 2 years, is that I got to switch, because if I don't switch, I'm gonna just like I'm gonna go completely insane, and that's kind of how I started Crazy Fitness Guy, because it's like, well, I am insane for starting a whole website and starting it on WordPress. Um, yeah, and so I've been up and running for 3 years now. Uh, and of course, all the money I spent on WordPress, I can't ever use ever again. But oh well, and that's why I'm insane. Well, half insane.
I think anyone who puts themselves out there, into the public forum, particularly at scale, as you have, and document some of the process along the way, what you're doing, you have to be a little bit crazy, because in doing it, you have to let go of that, that judgment that others have, and you just have to go to a space of full passion for what you're doing, and loving what you're doing. So yeah, I think everyone who puts themselves out, particularly people who want to be speakers as well, you have to have that little bit of a crazy edge to you. So it's a blessing. It's a blessing, that's for sure.
So true.
Jimmy, we were just talking off camera about, you've been through a few different subjects at college until you've chose one now, which you went with, which is media studies, right? Mm-hmm. And but you went through 4 or 5. Was it 4 or 5 different ones before that?
I think it was maybe 4, 5 months, maybe.
Yeah, and I think that's great, because a lot of people would be like, oh well, that's a bit strange. You flicked around and you couldn't choose which one you wanted. But I think it's important, because there's a lot of people who are studying, and they're studying, they're in college because it was prescribed to them by their parents, teachers, peers, but they're not really studying something they enjoy, and you spend years doing it, and then you come out the other side of it, and you've got this qualification that you don't even like doing and you don't want to do again. So I think it's good to take your time and know that you're a young man. Most people when they start college are young, not everyone, but that's the space to and the time to try different things and find your passion and come at it again. Okay, this isn't working. Come at it again with a different angle. Nothing's too fixed and rigid at that age. It's the age to make mistakes. And I think it's good that you took the time to go through that in different ways and different avenues.
Definitely. I don't think I could have stayed with personal training when I was in it, because I was only a fan of science in middle school, when I got to do some fun experiments. And when I hit high school, we didn't. My teachers made it sounded like, oh, you do a lot of experiments in high school. I didn't get to do jack diddly squat. I was like, this was a disappointment. What are you kidding me?
Yeah, and that's the fun part, right? The experiments, not all the writing that comes with it. That's the boring part.
I want my money back.
Yeah, a great way to put it. Now, I know you've had a lot of challenges throughout your life, but I tend to find I like to talk about them on the show, because I think it's when you're in them challenges, when your back's up against the wall and you're forced to grow and develop and overcome them, there's a lot of lessons to be learned there. So perhaps you could share some of your challenges along your journey with us and the audience today.
Where do I start? Like I said, I have a long list of challenges. Would you like to know the challenges, like from the beginning of my life, or do you want the challenges from Crazy Fitness Guy?
Yeah, you're right. I should probably give a little bit more context. Let's talk about your challenges that you've had in founding Crazy Fitness Guy.
Well, like one of them was WordPress, obviously. Just working 90+ hours kind of get tiring after a while, and all you do is feel like I'm working. Everybody else has a life. I'm working. I got nothing.
I've been there.
And then I had challenges where when I moved to Squarespace, I had all my posts eventually moved over, but there was posts with broken images.
Oh.
And it's not their fault because I totally screwed it up because I was supposed to set it up like import everything, but like make redirects to everything. So then, so that Google didn't have duplicate crap on in their search engines, and I totally messed that up because it's like, well, I don't really. I was like, I really don't know. I didn't really know how to make the redirects at the time, and I think if I was more patient and learned, I probably could have done that better. But and that was another challenge. And then I had to find a few other things out on Squarespace that I noticed a lot of WordPress users try to tell you or try to tell people is like, oh, WordPress is the best and everything. Well, just because Squarespace does stuff differently and that they don't technically allow third-party developers to make plugins and everything, there are a few plugins out there in directories I found that do work with Squarespace, and it might not be a boatload like WordPress, but just because they have restrictions doesn't mean it's a crappy platform. And it's like, in total, and this might not even care for some people, but my website actually now ranks on the second page of Google. And I was hovering around the 6th and 9th page of Google for a long 2 years until I bought some really helpful books for search engine optimization. So I was like, finally, I get something out of this.
And that's a great achievement, getting your with just having the words fitness guy in your website title, and obviously seeded throughout your website to get to page 2 of Google. There would be probably millions of sites fighting for kind of those keywords. So did really well there, and having used both WordPress and Squarespace, I think I've used every single website builder that is out there. I do not joke. I've used GoDaddy, Squarespace, WordPress, Shopify, Wix. I've run out of them, but I know there's a few more in there as well. And yeah, pardon?
Weebly.
I've used Weebly as well at one point. Yeah, for sure. But yeah, you're right in what you say. WordPress, it can do the job, but it is massively, I found it really complicated. It is really for developers. Squarespace is a lot easier, a lot more. You can get going with Squarespace a lot quicker, and the themes that it already has in there are easier to just drag and drop, change your colors. And I'm not trying to make it sound simple here. Building a website is not simple at all. And I think a lot of these providers post it as that, they're like, oh, you can have a website up within an hour. Well, of course you can get a website within an hour, but is it going to be a good quality website that actually provides value to the people navigating their way through it? Perhaps not.
Like for me, I literally redesigned my website like, I don't know, maybe 6 times on Squarespace, or maybe 3 times. And I finally found something that's stuck, and I've been sticking with it because I was like, I'm not changing it again. I like the layout. It just flows nicely. I was like, I'm keeping it.
I like the way on your site you actually have some instructions, which I don't see. I can't even think of another website I've seen it on that shows you how to navigate through the site. Particularly in the space that you're in as an autism advocate. And you're probably going to be drawing a lot of people that perhaps have autism too to the site, and other people that have additional needs and abilities. So it's good, I think, that you have that, hey, look, this is how you navigate through this site, because a lot of sites, particularly ones that contain a lot of information, aren't always easy to navigate to. And I think that what that can mean from a user point of view is you go, oh, look, this is all too messy. I'm just going to leave the website and come away from it.
It sounds like, those websites remind me of Google's own websites. When it sounds like Google Analytics for me, when it's just like one drop-down menu after one drop-down menu. Somebody actually, I had to quit this person, I don't know who said it, but like Google loves drop down menus for themselves. But if you're a user who has if you're a web designer who uses a drop down menu, Google does not like you for using it.
So these are tips and tricks you would only know from reading some of those books that you read. Can you share some of the books that you read with us that helped improve your ranking?
Well, the ones I used was from this group called Make Traffic Happen. They have one called it's called SEO the Easy Way, and I forget the other book. I still have it. It is. But yeah, I found the books helpful. And the funny part about those books, I was kind of skeptical because I think they said either a 5-step or 8-step approach. And I was like, really, 8 steps? And I was like, there's no way. And I was like, it's either 5 or 8. I don't remember the exact number, but I was like, there's no way it's that simple. And I was like, because I'm reading all these free articles out there, and it's like SEO is so hard and difficult, and it's like you have to do this, and they had like 15 steps on a page. I was like, holy crap, I don't know if I can do this. And I was coming back from vacation, and I'm just like sitting in the airport waiting for my flight. I think it was delayed. And I'm just like reading upon this, and it's like, this sounds way too good to be true. 8 or like these many steps, and like, there's no way. So I was like, well, and I just like thinking to myself, well, should I keep relying on these free stuff because it really got me nowhere for so far in a year of doing this? And I was like, I'm not seeing any progress. My traffic went from, it was up here, and then it just whittled away to nothing. And you know how much it kind of gets to you when you see that. And it's like,
oh, yeah,
it's just like one big slide.
Yeah, I can resonate with you, Jimmy. I've seen it with some of my own sites before, and it can be frustrating, and you want to find out the reasons why as quickly as you can so you can fix it as quickly as you can, don't you?
Yeah, and then so I basically and before I got into the plane, I bought them, and I read them front to back, and now when I finally finished it, after a few weeks, I already had like one post like ranking on the first page of Google, and it's like, this is insane.
Yeah.
And it's funny. And then all of a sudden, once I changed a few other things, I had a post written from last year, started getting all the traffic in the world on that. And it's like, I am freaked out.
It actually works.
I was like, this is unheard of. Something worked for Jimmy? No.
Yeah, no, it's great, isn't it, when you put your full faith in something and just go with it, and it works out, and you just know that all that time and energy you put into it was worth it. How long was the flight?
I think it was like 3, maybe 4 hours.
Oh, so you're pretty quick reader. It would take me probably 2 weeks to read a book.
Well, I mean, I didn't read it on the flight because I didn't have, I guess I only had the internet connection in the airport. Right. And I don't think I even have enough phone battery just to even download it. So I was like, I'll just wait until I get home. And I read it it took me, I kind of like read it like at a snail's pace a little bit, just to like kind of like, I read a little bit, I practiced, then I read a little bit more, practice. So maybe for some people, they probably read it within like a few weeks. It wasn't really that long, but I kind of just took my time and was like, I'm going to practice this during the week, and then I'm going to go on to the next part. And that just worked for my brain because I just chunked up the information.
Yeah. Yeah, it's funny, isn't it? Some books you read and you just can't, some books though, just you love the information that much, you just get caught up in it and you just can't put it down. And whether you work through it quickly or slowly, you really just get some value from it. And then there's other books that I pick up and I'm like, man, 5-6 pages in, I don't think I'm going to continue with this one. It's just not for me.
Well, that sounds like one of the books that I read. Well, actually, didn't read. I read a few pages of it, and then I never read it again. And people who now I'm going to say the name of the book, and a lot of people will probably disagree with me on this. But it was it was the first one of the Games of Thrones books. I didn't care for the books for two reasons. One, it was way too much detail for my liking, because I'm one of those people, like, it doesn't have to like dive right into the book in the first page or two, but it's like maybe in the second or third chapter or fourth, maybe fifth at the most, to get exciting and interesting, to pique my interest. But if you're not going to get into that, and I didn't even get to the halfway point, and I still wasn't interested. And I was like, I don't know what this is. And then, like, the second reason was just that I heard that the TV show didn't even go along with the books. And it's like, how do you write a book and then you just decide, I'm going to make a TV show, but it has nothing to do with the book? And I was like, what? That's like saying, hey, that's like J.K. Rowling saying, I'm gonna write a book about Harry Potter, and then we're gonna have a movie with the title Harry Potter, but has nothing to do with the books at all.
Yeah,
you know how many people? You know how people will watch that? None.
Yeah, no. It seems to happen a lot though, doesn't it? It's a bit unusual. Yeah, they make. I mean, I know they even did it with the Lord of the Rings books. You know, they bought out movies that didn't even have a book, and they just added loads of bits on. But I mean, I don't know about what you think, but they are great movies, I think.
Yes, right. I never read the Lord of the Rings books, but I watched all the movies and I enjoyed the movies. But I didn't enjoy I never read the books.
Well, it's interesting because J.R.R. Tolkien is actually from Birmingham, which is where I'm originally from. So in primary school in Birmingham, certainly the primary school I went to, I don't know if it's the same for all of them, but The Hobbit is like the book that gets read to you while you're all sat on the floor in the classroom. And you probably get read to you multiple times. Now, Jimmy, we're talking about reading books. Now, do you write books as well, or do you have a book that you're working on?
I can't confirm or deny that.
Okay, we'll leave that there. That's make what you want of that, guys. Read between the lines. I also see that you've got some mobile apps, Jimmy, as well. Did you make them yourself?
I would love to take credit for that, but I bought it. It was basically a pre-designed template that I configured, and then I found out that from my own on my own, that the developer who made it had a automatic development tool, so I no longer had to use Android Studio to configure any of these things, which kept on breaking the app. My mistake. So that cost me $5, but it's only like $5 for 1 month. But then I might not have to update it. I only update it every so often, so it keeps costing me $5. But I'd rather spend the $5 and there's not an error on my end because I screwed something up. Now it's just the development's tool. So I was like, well, if it's screwed up, I can blame it on him. The developer doesn't like me at all. And that's a long story for another time.
That's all good. Yeah. Now tell me about some big wins, some triumphs you've had with your foundation, Crazy Fitness Guy.
Okay, that's easy. One of the wins I got. I finally reached 1,000 visitors in a month last month. I'm actually projected to reach that again this month. Another win was I used to only get like maybe 20, 30, maybe 40 people in a day to my website. For like the last 2 or 3, maybe 4 days, I got over 70 people visiting. I was like, dang, it's like people are making it their job to visit. I was like, don't get me wrong, keep on coming back. I love it. I'm just saying, I'm just kind of shocked. I mean, shocked in a good way. Another win was I got over 800 podcast total plays, which is awesome because my podcast has only been up from running since of April 12th of this year. Which is Crazy Fitness Guy's 3rd birthday. And I started exactly on that date just because of it. I also I have an estimate of 114 podcast subscribers. It's amazing how some of these advanced tools saying that they're really advanced tools and they only give you an estimate of subscribers. How can you be an advanced tool if you're going to give me an estimate?
Well, you're not.
And I think another win would probably be, I got on the 2nd page of Google. So
that's a great win. Yeah, it's a great win. And I think in this time when people are restricted with what they can do and they're locked down and they're perhaps staying at home a bit more and not everyone's at work, it's inherently you get a lot more traffic online. So I think it's a great time to grow that traffic and get attention to your website. And if it's a great website like yours is, those visitors are going to become repeat visitors. So there's certainly some upward sides to what's going on in the world right now, particularly if you have a space online.
And plus, I also believe, if I'm reading my metrics correctly, and I really hope so, it says that from my own name, Jimmy Clare, that my website is being found through that as well. And that's like hovering around near the first page of Google. And it's like, dang, I never thought I'd be getting. There's a lot of Jimmy Clares ranking from my own name. There can only be one Jimmy Clare in the world. Me. All the other ones are imposters.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. And we're stating that now. This Jimmy Clare you're seeing in front of you right now, guys, is the first and the only. Do not accept imitations.
I need to clone myself.
Tell us more about the podcast, Jimmy, the Healthy Living podcast. You've done with that in a very short time. I'd love to know more about it.
It's a monthly podcast, and sometimes it goes out once or twice a month, which then I can't really call it monthly, but it's still monthly because sometimes it's just only once a month. And it's geared towards people who are on the spectrum and off the spectrum, meaning that it's geared. I try to make it geared to both, because I like to think of myself that I'm the gap between people who are on the spectrum and people who are off of the spectrum. So like I'm kind of like the closing gap. Like I said to you, I'm slightly autistic, so I kind of feel like, well, here's the bridge. I'm like the middle of, or like maybe not the middle, but like at the beginning of the bridge, and I
get what you're saying. It's almost like you're like a bridge between people who are on and off the spectrum, and providing a place to talk about that openly is a great platform. I think I think there's perhaps not. I don't know because I haven't looked at it at scale, but I don't think I'd certainly say there's more podcasts that aren't going for that audience than are. So you've got your niche there, and it's always good to have a niche in the online space.
True, and I talk about similar topics like autism, fitness, nutrition, managing stress, motivation. Obviously, unfortunately, the motivation is not in the description at the moment because I kind of just created that new segment off the top of my head. Not just now, but it was like a week or two ago, but I was playing catch up on some of my projects. And I also talk about self care, self help, nutrition. I had some authors on my on the podcast. One of my author I had on was Luke Murphy. He made all the Charlene Taylor books. He's a really good author. People consider I consider him like to be the young James Patterson, but but I kind of feel like he has. Well, I don't want to say anything bad about James Patterson, but I kind of sometimes I feel like some of his books get redundant. Where where Luke Murphy comes in, brings I don't know, more energy to the book, is that when you think that you figured out who did who killed that person in the book, it turns a split second later, you're completely wrong. You have no idea until the end of the book. I'm like, what the hell just happened?
The engaged and the turn is always twisting.
And me and him been following each other for like multiple years on Twitter, and like when I first started on Twitter, he was like one of my first few followers on Twitter, and he's like, what would an author like him be following me for? And then he was actually on one of my podcast. He was on my podcast episode. It was like one of the first episodes I did, maybe actually second. But that episode did really well, and I think it was me and him were just like joking back and forth the whole episode, like we are doing today.
Yeah, that's the best way to do it, right? It's the best way that these things are done. It's just conversation between two folks that also has a lot of people watching either now, live, or later, which is a great way to do it. Yeah, I think you've, yeah, you know, and I mean this with honesty and sincerity. I can't actually wait to listen to the podcast myself, because a lot of the subjects you talk about, you know, healthy eating, healthy living, you know, how to look after your mental health as well. I think these are all great things that they're all ingredients, aren't they? That when they come together, you know, it creates this healthy lifestyle. And I think there's a lot of different things you have to think about, you know, to live a healthy lifestyle. And it's not just the physical side; it's the mental side as well. And it's not always easy to do, but keeping paying attention to it is the important thing, and accepting the fact that you don't know, of course, everything about it. And podcasts are a great way to learn more things.
So true. Boy, I kind of wish I did know everything though.
Just it'd be boring because there'd be nothing to learn.
No, that's true. But it would help me with my WordPress days though.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, look, I've got to be honest on that WordPress thing. I've done WordPress sites where I found a theme that I already liked, but then I just get someone else to build it out for me, because it's just too much work. And then you do it all. You get all the coding right and the bits right, and then it throws up some error that you just don't understand, and it's just like, oh.
I kid you not. I had a web design teacher who can figure out all the errors by taking off his glasses, and he says, and it's like, oh, that's where the error is. And it's like, that's like finding Waldo in a flipping book. He's like, I can't find Waldo.
Yeah, it wouldn't. Certainly, I wouldn't be able to do that. No,
me neither.
No chance. Leave the professionals to do what they do, right?
People say like, "Hey Jimmy, what about you? You like running websites? Why don't you become a webmaster for running websites?" I'm like, no, I'm done.
Yeah,
I'm not doing that.
I do build websites for other people, but I think the theme is always a good place to start. You can do the basic stuff, but then the more technical stuff I just post out to someone else to take care of. I think it's when you haven't got the time, but of course sometimes when you haven't got the budget, you have to learn it yourself or ask other people. I've been there too, but I know Squarespace is a real good one to use, and it's the thing about Squarespace is it's affordable as well, isn't it? It's like low entry price, low monthly cost going forward.
Well, what's really funny, what the WordPress users don't tell you, and it's kind of like a secret between them. And I'm not saying all of WordPress users that like them. These people don't think I'm saying that whatsoever, but some of them, like they say, like, oh well, Squarespace is so expensive, and it's like, well, turn that table. It's like, just look at WordPress for a second. It starts cheap, but what they don't tell you is that that's for shared hosting, and your website will just keep going down and down and down because it shares all the resources with probably like a million other websites on that same server.
Mm.
And my website just crashed every single time, probably like once or twice a week, sometimes even more. And what they don't tell you is that if you're on shared hosting, it's only good for a certain amount of visitors to your website, and then you can't hold anymore. But then what they also don't tell you on manage WordPress hosting is that it costs a lot more, and when you compare it to Squarespace, in the long run, Squarespace is cheaper because they can hold millions and millions and millions of visitors, where WordPress, it is like, here's managed WordPress hosting, and it's good for this many views. And then it goes up there in price and goes up and up and up. And so in theory, Squarespace is cheaper than WordPress. And I bet you Weebly is probably cheaper than WordPress as well.
Yeah. It's like they get you in with a low price to get you through the door, but then you realise that there's a reason for that. And people say, people go, oh, Squarespace is expensive. Well, compared to what? Compared to using WordPress and then realising that you're not getting a great service for that low price.
I can even tell you the exact number, how much it was costing me on WordPress. $800.
Wow.
Per year. And when I jumped over to the Squarespace, now it's because I'm paying for some other bells and whistles. Like I use an all-in-one social media manager. So, but in total, it cost me like $228 for the domain and Squarespace hosting. But then all the extra bells and whistles comes around like $500, maybe $600 per year. But it's like, hell, I just saved myself money.
Yeah, it's considerably cheaper, right? It's almost $300 saving, which is a lot of money, particularly if you're looking to do it long. You're in it for the long haul. You add that up there, you compound that up over the years, and before you know it, you're saving a few $1,000s.
And of course, I still have to make that money back, but one thing at a time. I'm in a pandemic. What am I going to do at the moment?
Yeah, it'll come, that's for sure. When your intentions are pure and you know what they are and you know the why of what you're doing, and you just keep doing it, and the money definitely will come thick and fast. Yeah, I think so. Now let's talk about the word hustle, Jimmy. It's a key player in the title of this podcast, Hunger for the Hustle, and I'd love to know your perspective on and definition of the word hustle, and what's driven your hunger for the hustle, throughout these various challenges you've had in your life.
Well, I think my definition of hustle is, I think I'm going to quote my sensei on this, on my Joshu in karate, that it's giving it 110% of yourself and you're doing more than the average person. That you have the hunger to keep going even through the very, very hard times. And trust me, everything I've gone through has not been glamorous. There's days I've really felt like I hit rock bottom. I mean, not like rock bottom. I was out on the street, but I kind of felt just like rock bottom um, where it is like, oh, well, traffic is down and low, and it's like, what am I doing? And it's like, am I just pissing away my money? Um, and all these thoughts just come into my head. But those books I told you about was the best thing I ever bought in my life. If anybody, I highly recommend anybody who's ever interested in learning SEO, go buy the books, because they will tell you. And they even, the admins of the Facebook group of Make Traffic Happen, they tell you that SEO is not magic. Anyone can learn it. It's the three-letter word does sound very scary, because I still tell myself every day that you don't know everything about SEO, and be humble, because the Google gods and robots are listening. Is like, if he says he mastered it, we're gonna screw him. And so I have this kind of like, I kind of have like the a little mischief. Oh, not mischief, but I kind of have like I kind of feel like I kind of have a curse that is like, if I said I mastered something, or it's really easy, bad stuff just goes down the hill, just like my bowling game.
I feel what you said.
Had really one good week, and then it just.
No, so it's important to stay humble, isn't it? And it keeps you in staying humble. It keeps you hungry, and it keeps your eyes and ears open to knowing that, hey, look, there's more for me to learn here. Just keeping being the sponge, keeping soaking up all that knowledge and information, particularly in a space like SEO, where it does change somewhat. Google changes their algorithms, and everything can change with that. So it's a space that you never stop learning in. And I think to say I've mastered it, I know it all, I've learned it all, is pretty silly thing to do, really, because you're almost like, it's almost like saying, oh, well, I know everything about it, so I don't need to learn anymore, so I'm just going to keep doing what I'm doing. Well, eventually that will change, because it's a digital space and everything's changing, and sooner or later there's going to be some results of that are probably undesirable.
And that's why and another reason why I chose to make Crazy Fitness Guy is just to keep learning, and because the brain's got to keep learning in order to keep being smart. Without the smart, well, I don't even want to know what that. I really don't want to know what that looks like.
I don't think you ever will. Not with your attitude and ability and the way you apply yourself. I think it's fantastic. Let's talk about some goals and dreams for the foundation. Where do you see it heading? What's your aspirations for Crazy Fitness Guy?
I kind of see it as just my platform of speaking, like writing, and for myself, I see myself becoming a motivational speaker and speaking to over. Well, yeah, I would see myself speaking to over 500,000 plus people in a stadium filled, and I know this is going to sound totally awkward, but I'm going to say it anyway. One of the songs I really, one of my favorite bands is AC/DC, and this is one song called "Are You Ready?" And if I could and it's like I would love to be able to ask permission from them if I could use that. Just go on stage, not the whole song, but like the beginning of the song, like it first starts off like kind of like slow rhythm, and then it starts picking up, and then then the lyrics come in, and it says, "Are you ready?" And it's like, oh, I could just see that, just me walking on the stage.
Fantastic. You've already got the vision there, and the vision is a really important part of making things happen. Everyone, certainly I know, I've studied books, I've read, you know, they're people that envisage things. You know, a lot of athletes do it. They envisage themselves already winning and being in the place of actually doing it before it happens. The stoic mindset. So I think it's fantastic, Matt. I think you're going to be a great speaker. I know that you're looking for more speaking gigs, and you know, to let anyone know that's watching this, Jimmy is available for speaking events virtually or physically, and being an advocate for autism, he has his specialist niche there. So I think if you guys are, anyone out there is looking for a speaker in that forum, here's your man, Jimmy Clare, and don't forget there's only one of him.
And real quick on that, there's you know, it's funny, I actually had this other dream for myself, is me speaking at another at an event, and I got invited to this virtual podcast convention down December 5th. I believe you and me on the same group. Actually, no, this is a different group. My bad.
Okay, no worries.
Yeah, I can tell you about it after this.
Yeah,
but
sure.
there's this, this is a convention I was invited to, and one of my goals was to speak in front of my friends and family members and whatnot. And I invited a lot of them to come, and a lot of them said that they want to come and watch. And I was like, okay, I'm already seeing the dream now. And I was like, now I got that going. And so I was like, okay, December 5th is literally right around the corner. And so far in the group, there's been over like 1,200 people. And it's like, I'm going to be speaking live to 1,200 people. Don't screw up.
There you go. It's already happening, Jimmy. It's already, you know, you've manifested it, you've envisaged it, and it's happening right before your eyes, and it's only going to grow. And I really think with the attitude that you've adopted in life, the way you throw yourself into things and just make them happen, the way you never stop learning and just apply yourself at scale, it's only going to lead to great things for you, mate. So I'm really excited to see you speak on stages, and I'm absolutely sure it's going to happen.
I definitely hope so.
Yeah. It's already happening, but you know, some of those big dreams that you had about talking to hundreds of thousands of people, yeah, it's going to happen, that's for sure.
I just hope that this whole pandemic will just be the hell over, so I can get on with it.
People go, oh, the world's changed forever, we're never going to get back to normal. I don't think that's the case. You know, look at like Spanish flu, bubonic plague, all these things affected the world like at scale, perhaps not as they have now, because the world's so much more connected. But there'll be a few years from now, 3-4 years from now, and we'll look back on it as just a crazy time, and everything will be back to normal. That's what I think.
Wait, I have a question. What's your definition of normal? There's no such thing as normal.
Yes, well, okay. Yeah, that's a great point. But I mean, normal as in we can gather in a stadium of hundreds of thousands of people without having to wear masks or worry about shaking each other's hands, and you know, just being in a space where, we don't have to worry about interacting with each other physically.
Okay, that's a good definition of normal then. but I mean, just in general, if it was just normal and it's like, oh, well, I wish everything went back to normal. It's like, what's normal?
Yeah, normal. I guess my definition of normal would be boring.
Exactly.
Yeah. Normal equals boring. That would, if I was writing it down, that's all I would write.
I learned about there's no such thing as being normal in my psych class this semester. There's no such thing as normal. No one's normal.
No, it's quite a pointless word, really, when you think about it, isn't it?
Yeah, normal sounds boring.
Normal equals boring.
Math problem.
Yeah, math problem, sure. Jimmy, as we close out towards the end of the show, I'd love for you to give 3 hot tips for anyone watching in the audience. You know, anyone perhaps who has autism or has special needs or you know, abilities that you think, you know, wants to get to the point of being seen publicly, perhaps as a speaker or an author, or, you know, wants to get their own website, podcast out there?
I would say the sky's the limit. Don't listen to the naysayers who say, "Oh, you can't do this because because people will judge you." I don't care what people think of what I'm doing. I mean, if they like it, great. But if they don't like it, I don't care. It's what I want to do as a career. I don't want to sit in a boring office and just be. I just don't want to be a person in business. I just want to be me working for myself and no one else. I would also say, don't. It feels awkward at first, but once you get your name out there more and more, I kid you not, my first podcast episode that I did myself, recording just myself, I was all boatloads of nervous. I was like, now I can joke around on the podcast. Now I'm just cracking jokes left and right. I mean, it's not like the whole episode of just joking and whatnot. There's stuff and matter in it, but I just like, yeah, be yourself. Let the world see who you are, and if people judge you, just don't answer them, because guess what? At the end of the day, you know, those people will have to live with what they just said to you, and then the whole world will basically see what that person said about this person. It's like, hey, this person just said, knock this guy for doing this. And it's like, and this guy didn't even respond. And it's like, he's like, no, I don't care. And maybe someone will stick up for you on social media. That would be me.
Yeah, no, good for you. Good for you. And I think they're great tips to anyone who is in that space, yeah, and looking to get out there more, particularly when you talk about, you know, fear of judgment of others. You know, I think a lot of people, when they're giving that out, they're actually, you know, there's reasons why they're sad and they're angry and they're frustrated with their own lives, and they're just trying to troll you out, trying to put that out onto you. It's really nothing to do with you. It's all to do with them.
Yeah, perhaps they're just jealous.
Perhaps, yeah. And how about a book recommendation from you, Jimmy? I know you talked about the SEO books, but yeah, if you got a one book, if there was one book that you had to recommend.
Oh, can I say 2?
Of course, I'll let you have 2.
I would say the Alex Rider series by Anthony Horowitz, and obviously my friend Luke Murphy. He has 2 series, Charlene Taylor and what's the other one now? Crap. Calvin Waters. There we go.
Great, good to know. I haven't read any of them, so I might have to dive into them, add them to the library. Jimmy, I'm going to drop your links and social media handles here in the comments, but do you just want to tell folks where they can find you if they want to connect with you, and of course book you as a speaker?
You can book me as a speaker at crazyfitnessguy.com/hire me. There's a speaking page. You just click on speaking. And you can also follow me at jimmyclaire.speaker for Facebook and Instagram. And for Twitter is Jimmy Clare Speak. Obviously, way to go, Twitter. I couldn't even get the ER. You cannot have 17 characters on a platform.
Jimmy, it's been an absolute pleasure to talk to you, mate. Thanks so much for giving me your time and energy today. I really appreciate it.
Thanks. I hope I can be another guest sometime.
I'm sure you can. I'd love to have you back on, particularly when you get some of those projects that you can't quite talk about yet out there and in motion.
Shh, don't tell anyone. Wait, the secret is safe. I can't confirm or deny it. So
Yeah, no, and that's what you said, and that's where we'll leave it. Exactly right.
yeah.
Thanks for watching. If you're watching now, live or later, wherever you are in the world, if you've enjoyed this episode, if you've got some value, please subscribe if you're watching on YouTube. Please give it a like if you're watching on the other platforms. And hey, if you know someone that you think would get some value from this episode, share it on to them. It would mean the world to me. Thanks a lot for listening to the Hunger for the Hustle podcast. Jimmy, take care and enjoy the rest of your evening, mate. Thanks for joining me.
Thanks.
Bye.